footage which looked ordinary, until we hit rewind. What appeared invisible forward revealed a chilling presence in reverse. Watch closely, then decide. Is Bigfoot hiding in plain sight? At first glance, the video showed only empty woods, nothing more than rustling leaves and shadows. But when the team played the footage backwards, an unexplainable figure emerged. A glimpse of Bigfoot hidden within the frame. This discovery challenges everything we thought we knew about how these creatures reveal themselves. In the cold, untamed stillness of Maine's Northwoods, where winter clings to the land far into May, nature moves slowly, cautiously. It is early May, but here the growing season does not truly begin until the 1st of June. Snow can still fall without warning, and the trees, wise to this rhythm, hesitate to awaken. A driver, filming a simple vlog, notes this with quiet observation. "The trees aren't going to take their chances," he says, as the vehicle rolls forward along a narrow forest road, framed on both sides by pale trunks and damp pine. Watch yourself.
It's the beginning of May. This area, technically, growing season is June 1st, so it could still snow again. That's why the trees aren't going to take their chances coming out yet.
His words seem unremarkable, until something ahead changes the stillness. They approach a section of road passed earlier, one that had appeared ordinary, unchoked, unremarkable. But as the lens pans toward the tree line, something unexpected reveals itself. There, between two slender trees, stands a tall, unmoving figure. Covered in black, matted hair, it rises between 6 and 7 feet in height. It does not sway, does not flee, but remains frozen, as if studying the observer with equal care.
Now this one we drove by, it didn't look like it was clogged. But we'll see. That's why the trees aren't going to take their chances coming out yet. Now this one we drove by, it didn't look like it was clogged.
The driver's voice does not rise. There are no screams or gasps. But the camera lingers, silently asking the question the mind is not ready to form. Could it be a bear? No snout, no hunch, no movement. The figure holds a distinctly upright posture, massive and human-like in silhouette. This is not the first time the Northwoods has whispered of watchers. In Wabanaki lore, there are tales of ancient forest giants, both wise and dangerous, who remain hidden among the pines. Some say they only appear when winter overstays its welcome. As the vehicle rolls on and the shape vanishes behind a bend, the camera captures only the road, but the weight of what was seen lingers. Have you ever felt watched in the woods? When no one should be there, share your stories. Speak your truth. The forest is listening. A man stands at the edge of science and belief, holding a single video that refuses to be ignored. His name is Hutch Hoffman. His channel may hold only one film, but that film, shot by Harley Hoffman, echoes louder than 100 testimonies. Uploaded with conviction and urgency, it begins without hesitation. Watch yourself.
It's absolutely real. I'm telling you, apply the same scientific principles that they espouse to that film and tell me it isn't real. Don't forget, science is an attitude.
In the first few seconds, Hutch's voice breaks the silence, not with fear, but with certainty. Apply the same scientific principles they espouse to this film, he says, and tell me it isn't real. He speaks not as a sensationalist, but as someone demanding accountability from science itself. The footage reveals a figure, towering, black, and entirely cloaked in thick hair, moving with a weight and fluidity no costume could replicate. Every step it takes displaces real foliage. Each sway of its massive arms suggests something with bone, muscle, and purpose beneath its surface.
Science is an attitude of questioning. Not doubting, but questioning. Science may or may not ever get the proof that'll satisfy you.
The camera does not flinch. Neither does the man holding it. Science, Hutch says, is not machines. It's an attitude. an attitude of questioning. The image he presents refuses to be dismissed by jokes or easy explanations. The creature does not resemble a man playing dress-up in the woods. Its presence is unsettling in its authenticity. This is no prank, no blurry corner-of-the-screen speculation. The creature is centered, deliberate, and terrifying in its reality. The light bounces off its fur. The shadows stretch naturally around it. The body language doesn't mimic human play. It follows its own rhythm, like an animal that has lived 1,000 years without interference.
I'm telling you, apply the same scientific principles that they espouse to that film and tell me it isn't real. Don't forget, science is an attitude. It's not machines.
In a world saturated with hoaxes and parodies, this moment dares to ask, what if the truth has always been this plain to see? What if belief isn't a matter of evidence, but of willingness? If you've seen something like this, speak, because silence is no longer an option. The forest is watching, and someone or something is walking within it. A camera was found deep in the Alabama brush, mud-caked, scratched, and still intact. Its owner, a lone hiker, remains missing to this day. But inside that camera lay something no one expected. A single video, shaky, quiet, and ending far too abruptly. The footage begins with the hiker's slow approach through dense undergrowth, the breathless rhythm of footsteps matching the weight of the forest itself. Then, it stops. The lens locks onto a figure moving through the trees. A massive shape, jet black, nearly twice the width of a man, shifting between trunks like a shadow with weight. Watch yourself. Its arms are long, unnaturally so, swaying low near the knees. It moves slowly but not aimlessly. It seems to sense something. The figure pauses, turns its head, not fully, but just enough to reveal part of the face. What follows is the quietest moment in the entire clip. No birds, no wind, only the sound of a man holding his breath. Standing easily between 6 to 7 feet tall, the creature's fur glistens under spears of sunlight. It does not seem aggressive, but alert, aware. Its posture is not threatening, but rather curious, as if recognizing that it's being watched. Then it continues walking, disappearing into the brush, with the casual confidence of something that belongs out there. What happens next is unknown. The video cuts off. The hiker was never found. But that single clip has left a chilling echo across the Alabama wilderness. A whisper that perhaps the legends have always had weight. Perhaps this land remembers more than we do. What was seen that day cannot be dismissed as a trick of the light or a man in costume. There's too much weight in the movement, too much silence in the aftermath. If you have walked those woods, if you have heard something that didn't fit, now is the time to speak. Because somewhere in Alabama, something ancient still walks the brush, and someone is still missing. The snow had not yet melted in American Fork Canyon. Winter clung stubbornly to the high ridgelines above Tibble Fork Reservoir, and only a few hikers ventured into its frozen corridors. One of them, by pure chance or something far stranger, captured 27 seconds of what may be the most compelling winter Bigfoot sighting to surface from Utah's wilderness. The video begins silently, the crunch of snow underfoot nearly drowned by the hiss of wind rolling down the slope. The hiker stands still, camera lifted just in time to catch something moving across the tree line. It is large, towering, its gait steady and deliberate. Covered head to toe in thick black hair, It strides across the snowy brushland as if unbothered by the cold. Watch yourself. The creature seems unaware it's being filmed, or perhaps it simply does not care. The snowy ground offers little cover, yet it walks casually, almost brazenly, as though it knows few dare come this deep into the mountains. The camera zooms in slightly, catching the sway of massive shoulders, the trailing limbs longer than human proportion. This is not a man, not in costume, not in posture. And then, motion. The camera shakes, as if the hiker stumbles or panics. The image blurs, briefly catching the silhouette of the creature one final time before the footage collapses into disarray. But that final frame, the black figure half hidden in trees, lingers. It suggests not just movement, but presence. A presence that does not belong, and yet fits disturbingly well into the wilderness backdrop. Tibble Fork has long been whispered about among backcountry wanderers. Strange calls in the night, footprints vanishing into snowdrifts. And now, video. Was this a passing creature, migrating through the winter forest? Or does something live year-round in the high canyons of Utah, seen only when snow muffles our world just enough for theirs to bleed through? If you've walked these trails or camped beneath these peaks, now is your chance to weigh in. Because silence serves the mystery, and your voice might help reveal the truth. It is the summer of 1997 in the shadowy woodlands of the Catskill Mountains, near the bustling sprawl of Poughkeepsie, New York. A group of friends gathered around a campfire deep in the Hudson River Valley had no idea they were about to capture what may be one of the rarest pieces of Bigfoot evidence ever recorded, a juvenile Sasquatch. The clip, long referred to in the field as the New York baby footage, begins innocently enough. Flames flicker, laughter carries lightly through the trees. But behind the tent, something shifts. A tall figure, dark, broad, unmistakably large, moves briefly into frame. Then, from its shoulder, another shape springs to life. It hops down with uncanny ease and climbs up into the limbs above, like it was born for the trees.
That you see a large figure walking behind a tent and something hops off its shoulder and then starts climbing up into the tree like an ape.
Watch yourself. The camera barely catches the infant-sized creature before it disappears among the canopy. But then, there it is, swinging. Suspended by both arms, it glides gently from one limb, pausing midair as if playing. The way it moves defies human motion. Not even elite gymnasts, as noted by one of the researchers, could mimic these leaps. It is not only agile, it is primate in nature, raw and unscripted.
Very quickly, and at one point hangs from a branch with two arms and just swings there. It looks like it's playing.
There is no way that the figure in the tree is a small human being doing those.
The team from Finding Bigfoot, led by Matt Moneymaker and James Bobo Fay, returns years later to analyze the clip. Despite the proximity to New York City, the dense forests and rich ecosystems of the Catskills remain surprisingly viable for a creature like Sasquatch. Moneymaker notes the region's vast vegetation could sustain an undiscovered species. Bobo, captivated by the footage, asserts that what we're witnessing is likely a baby Sasquatch, a once-in-a-lifetime sighting.
Bounds. I've spent a lot of time around gymnastics in general. My ex-wife was a gymnastics instructor. I've seen it again and again. The best gymnasts in the world, they cannot duplicate what I've seen in that video.
This is not a hoax or coincidence. It is movement, instinct, and intelligence captured against firelight. So the question now shifts from, what is it, to, why was it seen at all? Could this be a rare glimpse into a hidden social structure, adult and offspring, nestled just beyond the noise of human life? If you've ever walked the Catskills or camped near the Hudson River Valley, share what you've seen. The truth lives in shared memory. Speak it. It was supposed to be a quiet summer retreat. July 12, 2013, deep in the rolling greens near Blue Ridge, Georgia. A place where the woods seem older than memory, and the silence holds more than birdsong. A family had chosen this quiet stretch for peace, but the forest had other plans. The footage begins without warning. No build-up, no dramatics, just raw, handheld urgency. A man's voice cuts through the wind, not with curiosity, but with panic. "Get in the house," he shouts. That single line anchors the moment in reality. This isn't a hoax, not a stunt. This is instinct, caught on film.
Get in the house! Get in the house!
Witness the urgency unfold. What the camera captures next is fleeting, but unmistakable. A large, upright figure moves through the trees ahead. Its gait is smooth, powerful, completely unbothered by the rough terrain. The man holding the camera pursues, but never gets too close. The creature seems aware it's being followed, and yet it doesn't run. It walks with a strange calmness, as if this trail belongs to it, as if it always has. No one speaks of a prank, no costumes, no footsteps retraced. What followed was silence, the kind that only arrives after something has shattered your understanding of the world. This was no bear. The proportions were off, the posture too precise. It didn't lumber, it strode. There's a power in that posture, and a mystery behind that motion. Feel the silence take over the forest again. What matters most isn't the clarity of the figure, but the clarity of the fear. You can hear it. You can feel it. A father doesn't scream unless there's danger. A family doesn't run unless it's real. That day, something enormous walked the edges of their reality and never looked back. And now the question echoes through the trees. What would you have done? Keep filming or run? Let us know, because next time, it could be your cabin on the edge of the wild. Out in the wooded ridges of southeastern Idaho, where brush thickens and the air runs quiet over Mink Creek, a moment emerged in 2012 that still refuses to settle. A school field trip turned silent when something shifted high above the students, something tall, dark, and watching. They weren't searching for legends, just teenagers gathering data for a class project. But what one of them caught on camera would soon circulate far beyond the schoolyard. The clip is short, just a figure, large, dark, and heavy-limbed, disappearing into the tree line. But within those few seconds, the familiar spark of Bigfoot speculation ignites again. Watch yourself as the camera jolts upward toward the ridge and captures the silent watcher standing against the trees. It moves with a swaying rhythm, twice. That simple detail would turn heads, even inside academic halls. Jeff Meldrum, a seasoned professor and widely regarded Bigfoot researcher at Idaho State University, examined the footage in his lab. He wasn't alone. Sitting beside him was Trent Stevens, an anatomist and retired ISU professor, whose reaction said more than skepticism ever could. "That arm swaying is exactly like the Patterson film," Stevens remarked, referencing the 1967 footage that remains the cornerstone of Sasquatch lore. Watch the brief figure slip into the underbrush, almost as if it knew when to leave the frame. But the mystery didn't end there. After the encounter, the students climbed the ridge. What they found waiting weren't answers, but footprints, deep, broad, impossible to ignore. They snapped photos, large impressions in the earth. Not from hooves, not boots. Something heavier, something bipedal. Stephen sat with the still frames and shook his head. He'd seen hoaxes, shadows, and countless false alarms. But this one? This had texture, shape, weight. The arms, though only glimpsed twice,
the notion of the immigrants coming into this new frontier and encountering strange and marvelous things, including stories of wild men and mountain devils,
matched the movement seen in the most dissected cryptid footage in history. Play the moment again, now with that knowledge behind your eyes. Something is up there. Something that doesn't move like a bear or look back like a man. As the story spread, the students remained unnamed. Not out of fear, but from something deeper. Doubt, disbelief, and that creeping worry of not being taken seriously. And who can blame them? In a world that demands proof but ridicules those who seek it, silence becomes safer than evidence. But still, the footage exists. The prints remain. And two respected scholars stood shoulder to shoulder that day and quietly agreed. If it's real, it's pretty exciting. So what do you see when you watch the ridge? Trick of light, hoax, or something older, heavier, and waiting just out of reach? Let us know. The forest keeps its secrets, but they don't always stay hidden. Out beyond the last cell towers and the final breath of civilization, British Columbia holds its own quiet dominion, a place where snow-covered ridges whisper stories no trail map ever documents. In 2014, high atop Truney Peak near Squamish, two hikers stumbled upon something they would never forget. It began as a moment of calm, wind tracing the snow, camera rolling to capture the awe of remote wilderness. Then, far below, a shape, small at first, a black speck crawling along a white canvas, with nothing around it for miles. The camera jolts, hesitates, then locks in. Something was walking that snow line. Watch yourself as the silhouette moves. Center frame, deliberate, oddly smooth against the brutal slope.
Peak, and pretty sure there's just Sasquatch down there.
Oh my God.
I can't really see it very well. There's this little black dot walking in the middle of the snow.
It isn't the terrain for leisure. No trail markers, no footprints, no shelter nearby. The hikers estimate their elevation at over 6,500 feet. No reason for anyone, man or beast, to be up here. And yet, the figure climbs. The creature, if that's what it was, never breaks stride.
Walking in the middle of the snow, in the middle of nowhere.
Sure, that's it. Look at how Ray's walking.
Oh, I wish you could see it better in this thing.
Its path is illogical by human measure. Rather than descending to the easier base, it veers sharply, heading into the raw wilderness. There are no switchbacks, no signs of equipment, just a bulky form striding uphill like it's familiar with this high-altitude terrain. Play the moment where it crosses open ground at an inhuman pace, trudging through knee-high snow without slowing.
He covered that ground pretty quick. Holy. And look him go up. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere.
The hikers struggle to explain it, their lens unable to zoom closer. But the scale is there. One hiker whispers how quickly the figure moved, how easily it crossed the ridge with no visible strain.
I don't know how high we are, but we're probably close to 7,000 feet. 6,500 maybe. And this guy's just scampering up snow lines. Like it's no big deal.
At that altitude, every step matters. The human body tires fast, but the creature barely falters. Snow that would swallow most climbers seems to resist slowing it down. It walks with purpose, not hesitation, and then it vanishes toward nowhere. Zooming out to gain perspective, the vastness is staggering. Mountains stretch endlessly, unmarred by ski tracks or roads. The camera pans across empty alpine sprawl as the hiker quietly reflects on the absurdity of it all. Where the hell is he going? The question lingers, unanswered. Watch yourself again as the creature vanishes over the white ridge, its trail lost in the wind-swept slope.
He was coming down this valley down here.
What were they seeing? An extreme backcountry hiker with no gear, no pack, no partner, risking avalanche territory alone, or something else? Something that doesn't fear the wilderness, because it belongs to it?
I mean, he's hiking through snow like it's his job. And where the hell is he going? I mean, there's nowhere to go that way.
There was no camp below, no ski run above, just that singular black form carving its way through a frozen highland where even locals dare not linger too long. So what walked that ridge in 2014? Was it man, myth, or something our maps simply haven't labeled yet? Deep inside the ancient wilds of Strathcona Provincial Park, a man walked alone through the towering trees of Vancouver Island. He wasn't chasing anything, just a quiet day in nature, until the forest struck first. A rock, large and deliberate, came crashing near his path. No voices, no laughter. Just silence returning as fast as it left. A few steps forward, the stillness shattered again. A heavy crack echoed through the trees, like a thick branch breaking under force. He turned and caught movement in the ferns, something crawling on all fours. Instinct told him bear, but as he raised his arms and called out, the figure stood. It wasn't a bear, and for a brief, shaky moment he caught it on video. You can watch yourself as the figure rises and turns, upright and shadowed, disappearing into the dense green. It doesn't charge. It doesn't run. It simply walks away, calmly, deliberately. He describes it as young, not massive, but tall enough, human-like in shape, with a gait that was all wrong. He feared it wasn't alone. The movement was fast, sure-footed, not what you expect from someone in a costume, and certainly not in such deep wilderness. Play the clip again as it vanishes behind the trees, the forest swallowing it back into myth. You get the sense it knew exactly where it was going, and that's what's most unsettling. He kept silent for days, then showed the footage to his father, who urged him to share it. He uploaded the video anonymously, refusing to give his name. Not out of shame, but fear. Fear no one would believe what he saw. Or worse, that they would. Watch one last time as the figure steps through filtered sunlight, upright and silent. Something was out there that day. Not a prank, not a story, a presence. So what do you see? Myth in motion, or proof in pixels? Leave a comment with your theory, and if the wild has ever shown you something unexplainable, now's the time to speak. Snow still clung to the ground on March 4, 2007, when a camera captured what would become one of the most unnerving pieces of alleged Bigfoot footage from Canada. It happened near a lonely back road outside Peguis First Nation in Manitoba. The kind of road where time seems slower and the silence is deeper. The video opens with trees bowing under the cold, a landscape still gripped by late winter, then movement. Something crosses the edge of a clearing, tall, dark, and moving with an eerie smoothness. Play the moment when the figure appears from the tree line, silhouetted against the open white. It's no hiker. The proportions are all wrong. Estimated to be between 8 and 9 feet tall, the figure dwarfs the surrounding brush. The camera work shakes as the person filming tries to track the motion, but the mass of the creature is unmistakable. There's no coat, no snow gear, just a thick, black form striding upright across frozen earth. Watch closely as it pauses, just for a beat, before vanishing behind the tree line. There's a heaviness to its step, as if the earth feels each movement, yet it travels quickly, efficiently, like it's done this before. The person filming doesn't pursue, and maybe that was wise. No one else appears in the frame, no vehicles, no signs of a crew. Just an open winter road and something impossible moving through it. As the camera lingers, you can almost hear the question forming silently behind the lens. What did I just see? Rewind the tape, slow it down. In the final seconds, the figure clears a cluster of trees, then vanishes into the deeper brush. Not a single look back. So what roams the outskirts of Peguis on a frozen March day? Costumed hoax, or something older, something watching from the tree line? If you've got theories, it's time to share them. Could this be real proof of the creature First Nations people have spoken of for generations? Drop your thoughts below, and if you've walked roads like this alone, what would you do if this crossed your path? The reversed footage has sparked debate and wonder, forcing us to question how much we miss in the moment. Bigfoot might be closer than we think, concealed in ways we never imagined. Stay with us as we unravel the mystery. Subscribe and look deeper into the unseen world around us. It was meant to track a different predator. In the remote wilderness of Alberta, Canada, a trail camera was quietly placed, programmed to study the movement and behavior of wolverines, agile, elusive, and rarely seen. But what it caught instead was something no wildlife researcher expected. 105 seconds of footage. A single moment of the unexplainable. Preserved by lens and chance, the video begins in silence. The forest is thick, quiet, and unmoving. Nothing stirs except the swaying of distant branches. Then, with near imperceptible motion, a massive figure begins to take shape from the landscape itself. Camouflaged against the trunk of a pine, it had been standing completely still, its hair blending perfectly with bark, its posture rigid, calculating. This is not mistaken identity. This is deliberate concealment. Watch yourself. It steps forward cautiously. The body is fully upright. Its frame is broad and imposing, easily measuring between 6 and 7 feet in height. Muscles ripple beneath thick black hair as it moves across the forest floor with quiet purpose. It does not glance at the camera. Its eyes are focused elsewhere, likely prey. At that moment, the camera, designed for wolverines, accidentally captures a high-definition study in predation. What's most shocking isn't just the creature's appearance, it's the intelligence behind its behavior. This being was not simply passing through. I watched it, hidden in plain sight. Every motion, every breath seemed synchronized with the sway of the forest around it, as if it had learned through generations how to disappear without vanishing. Sonny Vator's video has since sparked serious interest among seasoned trackers and wildlife experts. The background matching technique displayed, intentional blending into the environment, is not a known behavior of any North American animal aside from humans. So the question remains, who or what adapts like this in the wild? And how many more trail cameras might hold secrets still buried in digital files, waiting for someone to look again? If you've ever set a trail cam and caught something you can't explain, now is the time. Come forward, tell your story. It began with a view of calm, the kind of stillness only a high mountain lake can offer. A lone hiker had set out that spring morning in Payson Canyon, Utah, capturing the quiet beauty of nature. The glint of water between the trees, the soft bend of branches swaying in the breeze. His camera drifted gently across the lake's surface, recording a moment of peace. But then, something shifted. The camera jolted, swinging away from the shoreline and toward the tree line. Something was there. In the blur of motion, what emerges is impossible to ignore. A tall, black figure standing upright among the pines. It does not flinch or flee. It simply stands, as if observing. Between 6 and 7 feet tall, covered in dark, heavy hair, it blends unnaturally well into the forest. The footage, zoomed and stabilized by the Paranormal Review, reveals what appears to be a creature unlike anything native to the region. The camera catches it mid-step, arms swinging low with weight, as if it had been caught just before vanishing deeper into the trees. The man who took this footage never meant for it to go public. He captured it in the spring of 2015 while hiking alone through Payson Canyon in central Utah. For years he kept the clip buried, afraid of ridicule or disbelief. It wasn't until nearly a decade later that he passed it on to the Paranormal Review, hoping someone else might see what he saw that day. Something not supposed to exist. In the early seconds, the camera pans nervously. There's no narration, no commentary, just the thud of stones tumbling and the wind in the trees. Then, stabilized and enhanced, the footage locks onto the shape. Towering between 6 and 7 feet tall, the creature stands with its back partially turned, its limbs long and its body blanketed in thick black hair. It appears to be moving with purpose, neither fleeing nor hiding, but roaming, almost patrolling. Watch yourself. Despite the digital improvements, the footage remains raw. The figure doesn't blur like a man in a costume. It shifts weight with natural heaviness. Its gait is grounded, deliberate. When it turns slightly, a subtle glint reveals a sunlit patch on its shoulder, showing depth and motion impossible to fake. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, it vanishes behind a patch of dense timber. The rocks have stopped falling. The silence returns. But what remains is a recording that continues to challenge the boundaries of belief. Springtime in Payson Canyon reveals much. But for one hiker, it revealed too much. If you've been holding on to footage, unsure of what to do with it, maybe now's the time. Share it. The forest doesn't lie, but silence might. High above the tree line, where the silence is as vast as the sky itself, two men found themselves alone on the slopes of Mount St. Helens. Their camera had been trained on the sweeping horizon, filming the wide-open volcanic terrain. But what they captured was not just geological beauty. It was something altogether unexplainable. From a distance, beyond the reach of ordinary hikers, a dark figure moved across the barren stretch. At first glance, it seemed out of place, too large, too fluid, and far too distinct against the ashen backdrop of the mountain. Despite the incredible distance, the form stood out sharply. Tall, broad, and cloaked in black, the silhouette appeared to be walking upright with long, deliberate strides. It had no gear, no tools, and no reason to be there. Watch closely. Uploaded by Bigfoot. Believers only. The video has become a quiet sensation among those who study the unexplained. The terrain where the figure walks is isolated and treacherous. No casual wanderer would venture there. And yet the way the figure navigates the uneven slope suggests confidence and familiarity. The men behind the camera remain silent, their disbelief louder than words. They zoom in shakily, and for a moment, the creature comes into sharper focus.
Hey, there's something down there. You see that in the clearing?
See the stride. The scale is hard to process until one notices the trees and rock formations nearby. Only then does the size of the figure become clear. This being is massive, between 7 and 8 feet tall and still distinguishable from so far away. It seems to dominate the landscape, even at a distance. It moves for only a short time before slipping behind a rocky outcrop. Then it is gone. Mount St. Helens holds many secrets beneath its slopes. Some are geological, others historical, but a few like this remain rooted in mystery. If you've captured something unexplainable on camera, don't leave it buried. Share what you've seen. Let the mountain speak. Re-watch the final moments. It began on the 8th of July, 2012, deep within the Sierra Nevada wilderness, near the quiet settlement of Clipper Mills, California. Hidden between the thick trunks of pine and cedar, a sound rose that has haunted all who've heard it since. A sound not meant for human ears. What was captured that night is now known as the longest sustained Bigfoot vocalization ever recorded. It was raw, guttural, and stretched out in intervals no man or beast has ever matched. This was not just a cry, it was a declaration.
It's crazy. Yeah. That's no dog.
It's a bear.
I think he's a bear.
Listen closely. Posted by the YouTube channel Big Toe Time, the audio was captured during a backwoods expedition. The recorder had been placed with the intent to monitor local wildlife. But what it caught that night was not bear, coyote, or mountain lion. It was something else, something intelligent, something alive with power. The screams continue, sometimes distant, then suddenly close, shaking the very leaves above the mic. Patterns begin to emerge, repetitions, a kind of rhythm that seems deliberate, not chaotic.
This dog's right over there. Whatever it is over there. There's a bunch of them. They're talking. They're just communicating.
That's not
Yeah, there's one back there too, like earlier.
Yeah, that's not a dog bark.
You can hear the dog barking amongst these howls.
As the minutes pass, the cries don't weaken. They intensify. There is pacing now. Movement. What began as isolated yells grows into an eerie performance of dominance or distress. At one point, two distinct vocalizations overlap, suggesting that more than one creature may have been present. And still not a single human voice can be heard. 15 minutes of edited audio, 20 minutes experienced live. Near the end, the vocalizations fade, not with exhaustion, but with an unsettling quiet. The forest falls still again. Whatever was out there had made its presence known, and then vanished into the tree line.
Shut up. Peanut, stay here. Penny, stop.
For the chilling final echo, if these are the cries of a creature not yet understood, then the Sierras may hold more than mere wildlife. They may hold witnesses to a hidden chapter of evolution, heard but still unseen. Are you listening? Are you ready to believe? Then don't just hear it, feel it. The truth may still be echoing. There are places where the wild flows too freely to be tamed, where the rivers carve their truth into the land, and something ancient watches from the shadows. Just beyond Calgary, Alberta, at the quiet edge of a riverbank, the impossible revealed itself one overcast afternoon. A casual walk turned to silence when movement in the distance caught the attention of two people filming for their channel, Fox RF600. What they captured in that brief moment became one of the most chilling Bigfoot clips recorded on Canadian soil. Before the camera was fully trained on the figure, it had already moved, taking just a few calculated steps, pausing, and then crouching low into the brush, as if it knew it was being watched.
That's not human. It's not a human.
See the moment it turns. The video is brief, but every frame tells more than words ever could. A bulky, dark shape against the pale earth, covered head to toe in thick black hair. What makes the encounter unforgettable is not just the figure's presence, but its motion. It looks back, not in panic, not in confusion, but in awareness, recognition.
It's here at first, but no. That is not a human.
Watch the eyes lock. One of the witnesses, barely whispering, can be heard saying, "That's not a human." And they're right. The proportions are off. The head too wide, the face undefined, yet far from expressionless. The way it crouches suggests it knows the river trail. It is not lost. It is not out of place. Then the forest reclaims it. The figure sinks into the natural camouflage, leaving no sound, no sign, only the digital trace of its presence.
That is not a human.
Witness the final disappearance. If real, what stood there at the river's edge was something far older than any trail map. Something that watches us from between the trees and knows exactly when to vanish. The question is not what it was, but who saw it. And the answer, caught forever on this recording, is simple. We all did. Are you ready to face what waits beyond the last bend in the river? Deep in Florida's Everglades waterways, locals have believed for a very long time in something that doesn't belong there. A creature they call the skunk ape. In the early 2000s, brief video showed what many believe is this legendary being, moving with surprising speed through terrain that seems like it would challenge even the most experienced sportsman. The video begins with a peaceful swamp scene, birds calling, insects buzzing in the humid air. Then movement catches the eye, something large pushing through the dense vegetation across a small waterway. For just 14 seconds, we glimpse a massive hair-covered figure with reddish-brown fur, moving with purpose before disappearing into the maze of mangroves and saw palmetto. What immediately stands out is the creature's adaptation to this environment, suggests wildlife biologist Dr. Samantha Wolf. The long arms, the hunched posture, these would be advantageous adaptations for navigating swampland. It moves through terrain that would leave most humans floundering. The video's shortness is both its strength and weakness. While too short for a detailed inquiry, it also seems to lack the proper staging, which is common in fake videos. The creature's movements seem to be natural. Its body and proportions seem consistent with reported sightings dating back to the 1940s. Dave Sheely, who is a longtime skunk ape researcher that operates a small museum fully devoted to the creature, has spent decades tracking these sightings. People think the Everglades is this managed, understood ecosystem, but there's still over 1 million acres of virtually impenetrable wilderness here. The water makes tracking nearly impossible. Footprints disappear almost instantly. The Florida swamps are the perfect habitat for such a creature. Remote, wet, and impossible to locate easily. But this thing moves through it without any effort. One can comment how it differs from the Bigfoot creature, which is equally unknown, in its reported odor, an overwhelming smell of methane and decay that has given the creature its name. Witnesses describe a smell so strong it causes physical discomfort, often detected minutes before and after sightings. That smell ain't something you forget, explains Marcus Thibodeau, who is an airboat operator who claims 3 encounters over 30 years. Like something died, but mixed with rotten eggs. Strong enough to make your eyes water. Always smelled it before I saw anything. Biologists believe that if such a creature exists, the odor might be for reasons other than just making you uncomfortable, perhaps stopping predators from tracking them or marking their territory. Others suggest it could be the result of a diet heavy in carrion or from bacteria in the creature's fur adapted to the humid environment. The footage, although it does not suggest much, captures something moving with actual purpose and familiarity through one of North America's most challenging environments. Whether undiscovered predator, misidentified bear, or elaborate fraud, the skunk ape remains a part of Florida's cultural identity. A reminder that even in our most developed state, wilderness and mystery exist in the spaces between civilization.
Exploring with Angelo is a YouTube channel famous for diving headfirst into abandoned and haunted locations that many would never dare to step foot in alone. In his video titled, "Very Scary Solo Camping in Skinwalker Canyon," something wasn't right. Angelo ventures solo into a desolate canyon in the American West. From the first few minutes, there's something unsettling about the place. The wind moves through with a low hum.
I just heard the weirdest noise down there. Whoa, look at these frickin' rocks. That is so cool. Dude, it almost doesn't even look real.
and the silence between gusts is thick and unnatural. As Angelo surveys the rocky terrain, he points out a small sign warning about rattlesnakes in the area, just another layer of danger added to an already isolating location. Nearby sits a single, weather-worn picnic bench, completely out of place in the wild emptiness of the canyon.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. There's like boulders and stuff down.
As he walks around, the land dips into strange formations, massive boulders jutting out like ancient bones of the earth.
Something was just like tapping on the glass.
He pauses when he hears something faint, a sound that doesn't match the rhythm of the wind. There's nothing visible, but something about the acoustics in this canyon makes everything sound closer than it should. These opening moments give the strong impression that this isn't just a quiet night in the desert. This place holds secrets buried in silence.
I swear, some of these places out here in the west, it's like we're in fucking Mars or something. It's pretty amazing. I don't know what's down there, but I guess we could go like down in that area.
It feels like stepping into another planet. A jagged Mars-like landscape, too vast and barren to feel safe.
It's like literally like almost Mars or some other planet. I don't even know. Maybe Uranus? I have no idea.
Something out here is watching. Observe this moment. Night approaches fast. Angelo had planned to continue driving, but the growing darkness and the strangeness of the landscape convince him to camp for the night.
I think I might set up camp here. I don't think there's a point in really leaving. I hope whatever's out here, I do hope we actually catch.
He sets up his gear and powers on Spirit Talker, a device often used in paranormal investigations to receive supposed real-time messages from spirits. He doesn't know much about the canyon.
Just continue on my drive tomorrow. I'm gonna actually get Spirit Talker running, because we don't really know what the hell is out here.
Only rumors, eerie tales, and unsettling comparisons to other high strangeness locations. As he gets his flashlight ready, a sense of vulnerability creeps in. The open desert around him provides no shelter, and the shadows stretch endlessly between jagged rock faces and the loose gravel underfoot. The wind continues howling, stronger now.
We're hearing stories of some creature-esque type thing, and we want to know what that creature-esque type thing might be.
And every gust seems to bring with it the possibility of something more, something not quite animal, not quite explainable. He decides to walk further into the canyon, navigating by flashlight, aware that any wrong step could land him on a snake, or worse. The deeper he goes, the more surreal the landscape becomes. He comments on how everything looks so unnatural.
Right now, it's very odd because the last place it actually said piano.
Need time.
Towering stone formations that resemble ruins from another world. His Spirit Talker begins throwing out strange words. Associated, then Virginia, making it feel like he's being toyed with, as if something knows he's there.
Associated.
You're associated to what? So what if, like, my kind of idea is that, like...
He pauses often, looking over his shoulder. Something flashes in the corner of his eye. Just movement, quick, far, and low. The isolation is overwhelming, yet he keeps going, driven by the need to understand what truly haunts this desert. Experience the descent.
Cut.
Cut what?
What follows is even more bizarre. While navigating through uneven terrain and cracked stone formations, Angelo comes across a boulder that has been split clean in half, as if it were deliberately cracked not by nature, but by something else. He stumbles slightly as the ground shifts beneath him, revealing a bleached white object protruding from the soil. Upon closer inspection, it becomes clear. It's a bone.
What am I looking at right now? What the I don't know what that is. It looks like a skull of some sort. It has to be.
Not just any bone, but what appears to be a partial skull with vertebrae still attached. He crouches in disbelief. Out here, so far from civilization, this is not something you'd expect to find by accident. The shape, the condition, everything about it is wrong. It's not fresh, but it's not ancient either. The presence of this remains stirs something in the air. The canyon feels like it holds its breath. The deeper he explores, the less it feels like a camping trip and more like an initiation into something eerie and ancient. Rocks begin to resemble faces in the flicker of flashlight beams.
Places I've ever investigated before. Yeah, there's literally something sticking out of that. Oh my god, oh, that was a bird.
A strange buzzing in his ears rises, though the wind never changes pace. It's as if the canyon is whispering just below the range of human hearing. As he stands over the bones, a sharp chill hits him. Not from the air, but something internal, as if the energy of the canyon has passed through him. The direction he saw the strange shape earlier seems to line up with where he now stands, near the broken rocks and mysterious remains. His voice becomes quieter, more cautious. Something is very wrong here. See this chilling discovery unfold.